Emily Bennett adjusted her blazer in the reflection of the towering glass windows of her Chicago office. The city below bustled with life. But her thoughts were miles away, tangled in the web of expectations her family had woven around her. Despite her relentless efforts and prestigious title as a senior marketing executive, her parents never saw her as anything more than a woman who had failed in the one thing they valued most, marriage and motherhood. Her phone buzzed. "Rachel, sister, you're late. Again. Don't ruin my baby shower. Everyone's waiting." Emily clenched her jaw. Of course. They are. It was always Rachel, the golden child, the perfect daughter, the one who, according to their parents, had done everything right. Rachel had married young, secured a wealthy banker husband, and was now expecting her first child. Meanwhile, Emily's career success was nothing more than an afterthought, a disappointing deviation from what her family considered true success. She drove through the streets of Chicago, gripping the wheel tighter than necessary. The memories of her own failed engagement resurfaced, taunting her like an old wound ripped open. 2 years ago, she had been set to marry Ethan, the man her parents had finally approved of. But out of nowhere, he had called it off. No reason, no closure, just gone. And a few months later, Rachel had rushed into a hasty wedding with Mark, a man who had no idea he was being played for a fool. As she neared Rachel's neighborhood, her eyes caught an unexpected sight. At the entrance of an upscale hotel, a familiar figure lingered in the dim glow of the streetlights. Her sister, Rachel, wrapped in the arms of a man. Emily's heart pounded violently against her ribs as she squinted through the windshield. The man's back was turned, but the way he held Rachel, the familiarity in the touch, made Emily's stomach twist in recognition. No, it can't be. Then, as if fate wanted to hammer the truth into her, the man turned slightly, just enough for Emily to see his face. Ethan, her ex-fiancé. A cold realization settled in her chest. This was no ordinary affair. This wasn't some fleeting indiscretion. This was the truth she had been blind to for years. Rachel's baby could be Ethan's. Emily pulled over, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Rage, betrayal, humiliation, it all came crashing down at once. She felt her entire world tilt as she pieced the puzzle together, why Ethan had suddenly left her. Why Rachel had rushed into a marriage. Why their parents had been so eager to push Emily aside. Her phone buzzed again. "Rachel, sister, hurry up. Already. You're always ruining things." Emily exhaled shakily and made a decision. She wasn't going to be the fool anymore. She opened her laptop in the passenger seat, fingers flying across the keys as she accessed old emails, archived messages, traces of a hidden affair buried in digital footprints. She was good at uncovering lies, a skill she had sharpened over years of corporate deception. But this was personal. Hotel reservations, deleted texts, photos from social events where Rachel and Ethan had exchanged stolen glances. It was all there. "You want me to be at the baby shower, Rachel? Fine. But this time, I'm bringing a gift of my own." Emily dialed the one person who could help turn this into something more than just a bitter family squabble, Diana Morrison, an attorney specializing in family law. "I need your help with a legal matter," Emily said, her voice steady but laced with a dangerous calm. "Tell me everything," Diana replied. Emily inhaled deeply, already seeing the path ahead. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. It was about taking back the power they had stolen from her. Her family had written her off. They had mocked her, belittled her, discarded her, but they would never see her revenge coming. The air in the grand ballroom was thick with the scent of fresh roses and expensive perfume, the golden chandeliers casting a warm glow over the elegantly dressed guests. Emily Bennett stood near the entrance, her grip tightening on the small leather folder in her hands. Every fiber of her being told her to walk away, to let her family remain in the comfortable web of lies they had spun for years. But not tonight. Tonight, the truth would rip through their perfect world like a storm. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The crowd was already gathered around Rachel, her glowing, pregnant sister, who stood near a massive "Welcome Baby Harrison" sign, basking in the admiration of their parents and guests. Their mother, Olivia, beamed as she placed a delicate hand on Rachel's stomach, while their father, Charles gave a proud speech about family values and the beauty of unconditional love. Emily almost laughed at the sickening irony. Emily, you're late. Rachel's voice rang out, drawing attention to her as she sauntered closer. Her eyes glinted with thinly veiled superiority. I was beginning to think you weren't coming. Workaholic as always, huh? A few guests chuckled. Emily forced a smile, her fingers tightening around the folder. I wouldn't miss this for the world. Rachel smirked, but before she could gloat further, Emily turned to Mark, Rachel's husband, the man standing beside her, so blissfully unaware of the betrayal unfolding around him. I actually brought something for you, Mark. Rachel's face flickered with confusion as Emily pulled out the stack of documents from the folder and handed them over. Mark's brows furrowed as he skimmed through them, his expression hardening with every passing second. What is this? Mark's voice trembled as he flipped through the damning evidence. Rachel's smug expression faltered. Emily, what the hell are you doing? Emily tilted her head, her voice deceptively calm. Just making sure Mark sees the truth. About you and Ethan. The room fell into stunned silence. Rachel's face drained of color. What? Emily gestured toward the documents in Mark's trembling hands. These are months of text messages between you and Ethan. Hotel receipts, photos, proof that you two have been sneaking around behind Mark's back. A sharp gasp rang through the crowd. Mark's hands shook as he turned to Rachel. His face twisted with shock and betrayal. Tell me she's lying. His voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the silence like a blade. Rachel opened her mouth, but no words came out. Emily wasn't done, and just to make things even more interesting, she pulled out the final document and held it up. This is a request for a paternity test. Because, according to your own messages, you're not even sure if this baby is Mark's. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Rachel staggered backward, clutching her stomach. Mark's face contorted in pain, his breathing ragged. Rachel, is this true? Rachel's lip trembled. Mark, please, is it true? Mark's voice thundered through the ballroom. Tears welled in Rachel's eyes. I don't know. The words sealed her fate. Mark took a step back, his hands balling into fists as he looked between Rachel and the documents. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out of the ballroom, the doors slamming shut behind him. Rachel collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Olivia rushed toward Emily, her face twisted with rage. How dare you, she hissed, her voice shaking. You humiliated this family. Emily lifted her chin, her voice cool and unyielding. No, Mom. Rachel did that when she betrayed her husband and destroyed our family's trust. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. Rachel's cries echoed through the ballroom as whispers swirled around her like a storm. Emily cast one last look at the wreckage of her family's lies. Then, she turned on her heel and walked away, finally free.